Hey guys, Pete Ramsey, HVAC Greatness, your coach to your greatness in the HVAC industry. Wanted to talk to the younger generation. There's been this friction that's been going on for some time now between the older generation. Like I'm technically considered a baby boomer, and if you don't know the cutoff years on that, I put a couple up there. I'm not on there. I'm too old. This is 2020, so I'm 55. So next year I'll be 56, and so I'm just barely a baby boomer. But I'm the kind of I'm the category of people that if you're an HVAC, I would be a very common customer to you, and a very desirable customer because as people get older in life, they're a little bit more secure financially, and they can afford better things and to pay for better service, and so that's good for you. But if you're one of the younger generations, we've been hearing this friction between the older generation and the millennials. Well, the millennials are now turning the corner, and now we have this Generation Z. They're going to be 23 years old starting next year. So the ones that are coming through the trade schools right now, if they have an interest in this, are another generation. But I want to speak to that generation. Now, you owners, you millennials that already been in the business for a while, you've been through this curve, you're in the learning curve, and you can probably support me on this. But guys, HVAC is a pretty darn good business. Now, one of the reasons there's a disconnect is because you have way more options than we did, right? When I was younger, everybody grew up. They either graduated high school and went and got a really good job, or they went on to college and went on to get a really good job. They got married. They had a family. They retired with that company. That was the plan, and lived happily ever after. Well, times change, and that didn't work out so good. I've been through a lot of different changes over my life, and so have people my age and older. Now, but as we started getting into Generation X, well, things got a little bit tougher for them. Now, all of my children are millennials. My youngest, he will be 20. Gosh, no, he'll be 29, I believe. 29, and then 34 and 35, 33 and 35. So those are my children. I'm married very young, but so I've watched them in the challenges that they've gone through as a millennial. Now, here's what's going on. So you've got all these options, and so there's a very good focus on me. Well, I don't know if I want that for me. I think I see myself doing this. I think I see myself doing that. Now, we all have dreams and aspirations, but my advice to you is don't underestimate the time that you spend in the trenches, getting dirty, doing the hard work, because this is what builds character, experience, and insights to a whole nother level. Easier said than understood. I know this, but I have walked that walk and lived that life. And if that's why, when I do what I do, and I'm working with HVAC business owners, for example, that's why I can relate. Guys, I've got scars from doing exactly what my customers have done. I've been through the frustrations. I've been through the pain. And because of that, it gives me a special insight. So as you move through your life and you start getting all the tough experience as well as the good experience, you're going to benefit from that. But let me get back to the point. There's a satisfaction that comes from HVAC. Now, I was a service technician out the gate, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 52 Charlie, utility equipment repair, which means heating, air conditioning, refrigeration repair person, and soldier, carried an M16 back in the day. And so when I left, I became a repair person, service technician, they call it, for a light commercial air conditioning company. And so I was a junior guy, and so I did the easy stuff, pulling filters and changing belts and things like this back when they had more of that. And ultimately, I began doing more and more repairs. So I'd be the guy that you would call out to your home or your place of business when the heating and air doesn't work. And by the time I left, it was all working. Everybody's happy. Well, there's a satisfaction that comes with that. And I want you to imagine you're a gamer. Most of you guys are gamers, maybe not, but you can relate to this. So you're playing your game, and if you look at your body when you're tensing in, you're physically sacrificing for a mental stimulation, an emotional release, and you might be on that game 2 hours before you hit that next level. But when you hit that next level, right, there's a feeling of satisfaction. I did it. There may be nobody to even witness it, but you got satisfaction out of it for your own reasons. Or better yet, you're playing against some buddies and you hit it and you got witnesses to see what a rock star you are in the game, right? These type of things. So this is what careers can be like in certain work environments. Now, let's say you wanted to do customer service and you're over in the Best Buy and you're working in an apartment, and you're in the conditioned space and you get to walk around in your blue shirt, or, and I'm not knocking that, but all I'm saying is, where are you going? You're in the same place every day, working with the same people every day, and your career path has its limitations. But over in HVAC, it's a lot different. You're never in the same place twice. You're moving around all the time. And I'm going to tell you, when you go in there and you're going through that equipment, you see all of these parts and wires and cables and all this other stuff, and you walk in there and you sort through that and you find the problem. It might take you a little bit of time, just like that game. By the time you leave, I did that. Especially, this is awesome. 2 companies were out here. Nobody can figure it out. You come out there and you walk away the hero, right? There's a satisfaction that comes from that. And so, unless you're in a supply house, good one, man. So there's a satisfaction that can come from that, or the satisfaction of installing and knowing, man, if you put a level on that rascal, it is level. The elbows turn at a perfect 90 degrees. Looks like it rolled off the assembly line from the plant, and you did it. So there is a satisfaction that can come with that. But the sacrifice is you're getting dirty, right? You're connecting with the earth. You're connecting with reality. We're unplugging from all this virtual stuff, and you're literally out there in the elements, in the sun, in the cold, in the heat. You're sweating, you're cold, you're in the attic, you're crawling up on roofs, you're crawling underneath houses. It's work. You'll climb through kitty litter. You'll climb through rat dung or mice evidence, or snake skins are around where you can see, and maybe a possum is nested over here, squirrels over there. So that kind of stuff exists. Now, don't get me wrong. They scatter, so don't be afraid. But, and it's not an everyday occurrence, right? But that kind of stuff does exist, and you literally get your hands dirty. But by reconnecting, it stimulates more senses, and there's a greater feeling of accomplishment than a virtual version, an imitation version of that, if that makes any sense. So the industry is a really good industry. Okay. So we kind of beat up the millennials for a long time. The older generations have, because, you guys don't have good work ethic. Listen, for you older guys, myself included, if you were raised in their generation and they were raised in yours, everything would be reversed. You'd be loving their music and they'd be loving yours. Right? All of the different experiences of our environment are shaping who we are, and to the extent that we allow it, and it puts us in a different mindset. They are in a way of thinking. We're in a way of thinking, and it's our ability to suspend these limiting beliefs and influences, and bridge that gap that allows us to be greater communicators. So that leads me to away from the equipment side to the people side. If you have ever helped somebody that really needed your help, grandma can't reach such and such, you come in and with ease, because you're young, strong, you reach up, you pull down whatever it is you helped your grandma with, and she just turns to you with that glow of appreciation and thanks you from the bottom of her heart. It makes you feel good that you helped somebody who could not help themselves. That's what we do in HVAC. Doctors, lawyers, engineers who are very well educated look at our equipment and are dumbfounded. They have no idea. But you step in and save the day. So there is an immediate satisfaction from job to job to job. Now, you got to get through that learning curve and through that adjustment phase of getting dirty, right? I remember doing auto mechanics when I was really young, because I used to work on my own cars, best I could. We changed the transmission one time, me and a buddy of mine were down there. Hell, I'd never done that before. No, we changed the O-ring between the transmission and the motor. But anyway, we got in there and we dropped all that stuff, and we're greasy and dirty and everything. Now, I got to tell you, being greasy and dirty and sweaty and grits all over you is not a pleasant experience, but that was pretty darn cool. I come out, I was a man. I did all this myself. I changed it. We dropped the tranny, we dropped the tranny, we put in this O-ring, and there's a satisfaction that comes with that, right? Now, that's not something that I personally would want to do every day, day in and day out. My hat's off to auto mechanics because they're even more connected than I was, because HVAC is more dust. Maybe you get into an oil furnace and you get a little stinky or whatever, and there's exceptions, okay? But the point is, generally speaking, it's not dirty work. It can get a little sweaty sometime, because we're exposed to the elements. But you know what's weird? You adjust, your body adjusts. So I remember living in Germany. I was stationed in Germany with the U.S. Army back in the 80s. And I came back and as a civilian, and we were on a rooftop, and the wind was cutting through. It was in the Carolinas, and this big bearded burly guy with his jacket on, he looked like something. He stepped out of a Harley's, what do you call it? Hell's Angels, Harley Davidson riding, big burly guy. And I'm freezing. I'm like, you wimp. Now I just lived in West Germany before the wall came down, and it was cold over there. There I am in a jacket. I'm like, this isn't cold. Well, I didn't know it, but my blood had adjusted. My body had adjusted and acclimated because of my 2 years of winters living in another country that's much, much colder, right? So you'll acclimate. It's a pain in the rear that first few months, but you'll acclimate, and then it's just natural. It's just easy to deal with. So anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Hope this helps some of you. Pete Ramsey, HVAC Greatness. And by the way, for you owners or you young guys coming up, lean on a brother. Listen, what I do is I work with people like yourself that you have the potential. HVAC Greatness is about drawing out your best you as an HVAC business owner, or if you're on that path to ownership one day. And when you own your own business, it's a lot of stress. But so if you can lean on somebody who's kind of already been there and kind of guide you through, then there's a better way. And sure, you can do it on your own. You'll get there eventually, but trust somebody who's been there. When I was in my business and dealing with the frustration and everything, I can remember the stress. I couldn't leave. I never took a vacation. Heck, I couldn't even hardly take a long weekend. It was just very rarely, because with Pete wasn't there, everything fell apart until I learned a new way. There are more ways to do this than the way you're currently doing, and a lot of them are better. Now, we don't see that because we have our way of thinking, and by learning from the experience of somebody else, like I did, I sat through this training. I went through a 1-year training program with I'll just say Ron Smith. Ron Smith with he wrote the book HVAC Spells Wealth. Very famous book, and I think he's kind of semi-retired these days. He still writes, but brilliant man, major influence on my life. I went back, took his course a second time. I went through Dr. Ron Collier's program. I went through all of these different trainers, because once I went through the first one, and I realized there's a better way. And it wasn't that I wasn't smart. It's just that they've already been through that. Why reinvent the wheel if somebody else has figured that out? So what we did is we implemented all that stuff, and then we took it to another level, and we became one of the strongest influences in our entire market, multi-award winning and all this other stuff, right? But I made a lot of mistakes, right? I almost lost it several times. Why put yourself through that? Life's too short. Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. You get on your road to greatness, and if you need any help, I'll be here for you. In the meantime, have a great weekend. We're on Friday. Pete Ramsey here. I am out.